Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to do a Theorycraft on capital ships, their uses, liabilities, and how I think they'll be run. So what constitutes a capital ship? A capital ship is defined from dictionary.com as one of the largest and most heavily armed ships in a naval fleet, and or one of a class of the largest warships, a battleship, a battlecruiser, or aircraft carrier. In Star Citizen terms, and for this video, I'm going to define it as a combat or warship of at least a corvette size. So originally the Idris was going to have that corvette size spot, but it's increased in size and scope, becoming a frigate now, and significantly larger. So they have talked about a new corvette to fill the hole where the Idris was, and this would be the smallest capital ship, or should be at least the smallest capital ship, but should still be a pretty damn powerful combat vessel. With the new corvette, when we learn more, we'll have more. There's not too much knowledge about it at the moment. Let's talk about a few of the capital ships we do know a little bit about. The Idris P and M frigate. So the Idris is a frigate class capital ship, and frigates lack the heavy armour and the large capital weaponry of a larger class ship, but they are extremely useful in combat due to their manoeuvrability and highly configurable upgrade options. Even the least expensive models feature numerous upgrade slots and multiple hardpoints for turrets and missiles. Frigates are frequently used for boarding actions. A single ship can support a team of marines capable of taking the fight to the decks of a larger warship and station. Of all the capital ships, we know the most about the Idris already. It's 240 metres long, it's 50 metres high, and 131 metres wide. It's very big, and it's got bigger from when it wanted to be a corvette originally. It has a lot of turrets for defence, 6 size 5 turrets and 1 larger ship-to-ship turret. The Idris comes in 2 flavours, the M and the P. The M is that military variant with a large spinal-mounted railgun for anti-capital ship combat, or at least it's going to be very effective against larger ships, and an anti-ship missile launcher. The P drops these, replacing the railgun with an additional turret, in favour of being more manoeuvrable as a ship. We got to see a lot of the Idris class UEE Stanton's interior from CitizenCon in the form of the Morrow Tour, as well as a flyby of an Idris at Gamescom. We saw pretty large landing bays there, able to house your smaller ships. From the looks of it, it looks like it may be able to handle 3 Gladius-sized ships. The size of the ship's interior was pretty damn impressive, but the ship does feel quite empty crew-wise. Even if you had a crew of 20 players on board, I would actually still expect there to be a lot more room on that Idris and have people doing stuff on it. There is masses of room on that ship, and marines for defending and boarding are going to be so essential in combat too. It doesn't just have to be people maintaining stations, but also I expect you'll get quite a few Merlins in that landing bay if you wanted to. It might be capped at a certain size, you might only be able to have a maximum of 4 ships in there, but if it fits, it sits, or if it sits, it fits. Whatever system that they were talking about originally in Star Citizen was that if you can fit it into a landing bay, you may well be able to take it with you. So you could get potentially a lot of Merlins there. There is a huge potential to outfit these Idrises for many, many different roles with many, many, many different modules. Radar, scanning, e-warfare, resupply, or even more room for marines and assault gear and weapons. There is a masses of potential for pretty much anything you want to do. The Javelin destroyer. Destroyers are built to do massive damage realistically to other capital ships and stations, and the Javelin is no exception. The ship is 345 metres long, 65 metres high, and 148 metres wide. That is significantly larger than that already pretty huge Idris. It houses multiple decks on the Javelin, giving access to a multitude of different systems, weapons, and turrets. 13 size 5 A to A turrets, 2 size 7 S to S or ship to ship turrets, and the true destroyer part of this ship, 2 9-meter Desolator class anti-capital ship torpedo launchers. The size 7 ship-to-ship turrets and the torpedo launchers here really ripping apart other capital and large ships. It can also house a single Redeemer or 4 Merlins in its landing bay. So it doesn't have a huge carrier potential, but it does have very big guns. The Javelin comes stripped of all its major systems and gear though. You're going to have to really outfit and maintain this massive ship, more so than you would with the Idris, which does come with a lot of stock gear. And it's going to require a huge, or at least large, group of players to run effectively. But it will be rewarding as hell if you do get it right though. The Javelin and the Idris, in fact, most of the capital ships, will feature pretty heavily in Squadron 42, so we'll be able to get a feel for how they operate, fight and attack each other, engage with each other. I do believe that in a lot of situations, even the smallest capital ship is going to be one hell of a job to get it working, everyone organised, and for it to be combat effective. I also believe that there are a lot of players that will rise to that challenge and do it really amazingly well. So let's talk about capital ship roles and that sort of stuff in a more general way. Capital ships will house a lot of large weapons or weaponry and groups of ships. They are made for combat, or at least to support combat in some way, like carriers. Large groups of players can crew together to attack outposts, other capital ships, and wipe out areas of pirates, for example. Many will act as command centres for organisations or groups, as a rallying point in the sector for you to launch attacks from, or as a flagship heading out headfirst into combat. There is going to be a huge amount of essential roles and crewing opportunities on these ships, from pilots, gunners, system management of like engineers, security and boarding, e-warfare, scanning and targeting, and command, just name but a few of the different... There's roles that you could probably make up for a ship that you'd need to do or would aid in the ship's efficiency. There are some quite major liabilities to running a giant ship though. Capital ships are going to be significantly more work to run compared to the other ships in the verse. Their size and scope is massive. They will require large, competent crews to be run effectively and efficiently, and also have significant crew, fuel, and other running costs. You're only going to be able to use the larger jump points in the verse as well, so you'll need to plot your course with that in mind. Also be aware that other players will know the entrances and exits to these jump points, and may be laying in wait to possibly ambush a larger ship. Combat between capital ships is going to be quite a brutal affair. I would expect in a lot of situations for the engines to be a major target quite early on. So you target them, that prevents an enemy ship from escaping or any form of evasion from it. Well, it will still have thrusters, but it won't have the major ability to cruise away or jump away quickly. Groups of fighters and bombers will be clashing, and the capital ships will be slogging at each other with their ship-to-ship turrets or their other capital weaponry, but also providing cover for their pilots in space. Capital ships are going to be pretty vulnerable to torpedoes and missiles and bombers as well. Those bombers really painting juicy targets on your ship. You're going to need your escorts to take these out, or at least have a plan, a module, some form of countermeasure or e-war to be able to deal with torpedoes and bombers. Otherwise, you're going to face taking a massive beating. Getting boarded. So your ship might get boarded. Now, this is only really an issue if you don't have sufficient security or marines to repel the enemy. But in a lot of situations, I foresee players that want to do boarding and capturing ships as a game mechanic. They're going to have a large amount of highly skilled marines being deployed on any attempt to board someone's ship. Obviously, this also works both ways. If you have a large contingent of marines on board, after you've defended from an attack, or if you don't see an attack coming, you can send them out on an assault to assault that enemy capital ship. Capturing another capital ship could be rather profitable, but you're going to have to get very close or have a way to deploy those marines effectively. E-warfare is another zone of engagement that capital ships will have to do in combat with each other. With ships investing more in talented crew and high-spec modules, that will give them the edge in using e-warfare for targeting, countering missiles and torpedoes or enemy weapon systems. NPCs or bots, you'll be able to hire NPCs to crew and man your stations on your capital ship. This could be them piloting escort ships though as well. Individual stations or guns on your ship, or even as marines. Obviously, this all costs credits, and we don't know how competent the AI will be at helping. Players as crew, though, to operate a huge ship, players will have to communicate efficiently and effectively. There is little point being a skilled pilot and having great E-War players masking your signature and being really stealthy if that when you do come out and when you do attack, that you start firing on friendly ships or one of your crewmen's AFK. Players have the potential to be amazing heroes and outthink situations, but juxtaposed by they can also be trolls or AFK. You are going to have to really trust every crew person on your ship and coordinate with them really efficiently and effectively. Some stations are going to be in engineering, for example. You might be receiving orders from the bridge to defend that section from boarders. You need to be communicating, you need to be doing your role. Lifetime insurance. So most capital ships come with that lifetime insurance that have been sold so far. When the game goes live, capital ships purchased or captured will have to buy insurance at the cost of credits. So if you lose your ship and you've got insurance, you'll get a replacement, but you'll lose all your upgrades, weapons, cargo, and systems that were on that ship that aren't part of the stock ship. So you'll get a replacement, but it will be the stock replacement. A loss, therefore, can be extremely expensive, whether or not you've got insurance. Also, receiving the replacement can take a lot of time. The ship might have to be built, for example, so don't expect to be able to zerg an attack with your lifetime insurance ships. It will take a while, guys, maybe even days to get that ship back. And there's going to be loads of combat variety and loads of other ships that are going to be able to support capital ships and will be essential, in fact, in the support of capital ships. There are also much larger ships that I expect to require huge collective efforts from hundreds of players to stand a chance of obtaining one. So there's some other human capital ships. There's the Pegasus escort carrier, which is about 700 meters in length. That is huge. That is massive. There's the Bengal carrier, which is even larger at 1,000 meters. And they've talked about the Retribution Super Dreadnought, which I don't even know how long that is, but it's big. There's also alien capital ships as well, so the biggest that I'm aware of there is the Vandal Kingship, which is 1,600 meters in length. So some of these ships are just insanely huge. Anyway, guys, the main crux of that was that capital ships are going to be a lot of effort to run, but extremely rewarding if you do run them effectively, and they're vulnerable to a lot of stuff. They're not I win cards that you can bring out onto the field. Even large swarms of ships that don't have a capital ship with them will be able to take you down, and retaliators and bombers, they're really going to want a piece of your capital ship. I expect to see some amazing emergent gameplay. I expect that capital ships are going to be one of the most integral parts of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and I'm so excited for them. Anyway, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the verse.